Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday from Sydney, Australia. My name is Alan. Welcome back to Beekeeper Tarot. Thank you so much for the comments and all the stuff about the bees and the tarot and everything. The subscriptions, the comments. Um, I'm just drowning in the sea of love right now, so it's lovely. So thank you so much for your kind words and your kind thoughts. And I'm really enjoying the feedback. So thank you so much. And I take what you say, I listen to it, and then I digest it. It's important to me to be attentive to what you guys are saying to me, and to take notice of it because your all your comments are valid, and I very much appreciate them. Before I go any further, I'd just like to also publicly thank Marianne and thank Libby, two wonderful, great Australian tarot readers. I've heard kind of had a few comments where people have said that Marianne has mentioned me on her channel or Libby has recommended me. I must apologize to Marianne and Libby. I haven't actually seen the videos where they have recommended me, but I've just been busy. But I'm not sure where it was or what actually was said. But it means a lot to me because Marianne is just this incredible tarot reader, and she's just such a so steadfast, and she's so anchored in her tarot and in her psychic abilities, and it's really humbling. So Marianne, if you ever see this, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your recommendations and for your kind words about my channel, and I really appreciate it. And I want you to know that it really started with you and Lena. So I sent you that email a long time ago, and I really admire your work, and I have a lot of respect for you. So thanks, Marianne. Libby, you are just fantastic. Just have this bundle of energy, and I love it how you always mention the Indigenous people and the tribal. It's very important that we do that. You do it every time. I just love your energy. I love how Australian you are. Love that. And it's just learning, just watching both of you is just such a learning experience, for me as a reader, and for all of us. I feel I can say so. Kudos to you both, and thank you so much. And what an important part of this community both of you fine people are. So thank you very much once again for any kind thoughts or words you've said about my channel or about me. And I just wanted to publicly say that. So thank you, Libby, and thank you, Marianne. All right. Really respect and admire you both. So thank you. All right. So what I wanted to do today was to talk a bit about some comment that I had, or a few comments I've had about people that are wanting to learn tarot. And I got a comment from somebody a couple of weeks ago, and this person was saying that they were using a deck, and I won't say that, I won't name the deck that they were referring to, but I had a bit of a look at it, and it was one of these novelty decks, and the person was commenting saying that they weren't really kind of understanding the cards, or they weren't really getting a grip on what was going on. And I just wanted to address that because I feel that the reason is for people that are learning tarot to start off with, and I'm not knocking the novelty decks, that they are a lot of fun and they're great. So I'm not knocking them at all. But what I'm saying is that if you're learning tarot from the beginning, I honestly do believe that you're in a much better position if you learn from a RWS deck, which is called the Rider Waite Smith deck. So I'm just going to talk a bit about that deck first, about that deck now, and its significance, and why I think it's important to learn from an RWS deck. And this is just my opinion. And once again, YouTube, entertainment only. I am not knocking any other decks. I'm just saying that if you're just starting to learn tarot, I think it's much better that you learn from a traditional deck. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so basically and I've just written down some notes here, okay? And then I want to talk a bit about Lena's deck after that. So bear with me. So the RWS deck is, as I just said, is the Rider Waite Smith deck. So it was published in 1909 by a guy called William Rider, and it was envisioned by a guy called Arthur Edward Waite, and it was created by this artist called Pamela Coleman Smith. So that's where the name comes from. Rider Waite Smith. The publisher was Rider. The guy that envisioned the deck was Waite, and the artist was Smith. So RWS, Rider Waite Smith, is talking about the publisher, the person that envisaged the deck, and the artistic person who drew the cards. So that's where that comes from. So basically, I'm just going to talk a bit about that. So basically, there was this group in the late 1800s in London, I think it was in England, called the Golden Dawn. And Arthur Waite, so he was the guy that envisaged the deck. He joined that group about that time. And it was a spiritual group, and that group was very, very, very much into symbolism. So I want you to remember the word symbolism, okay? That's important. So symbolism. So he was into, so Waite, Arthur Waite, Arthur Edward Waite was in this group called the Golden Dawn, which is like a spiritual group. They were into, amongst lots of other things, they were into symbolism. Okay, so Pamela Coleman Smith, so she was the artist. Okay, she was the one that designed and drew the cards. So, so she was born in England, and her parents were followers of a Swedish philosopher. She lived in London, New York, and Kensington. Now, she became a costume designer for the theatre, and in the early 1900s, she was regularly showing her paintings in New York. She was also part of the symbolism art movement, which was very prevalent in Europe in the early 1900s. So she was also into symbolism. That's one thing that they both have in common. They're both into symbolism. Now, she was introduced into the Golden Dawn in the early 1900s, which is where Arthur Edward Waite was. They were both in the Golden Dawn. Okay. So basically, Waite took notice of Smith's artistic ability. So to break it down once more, the Arthur Waite, who's the guy that envisaged the deck, took notice of Pamela Coleman Smith, her art. He noticed it, and he thought, wow, I want you to design I want you to be the artist for my tarot deck. So in 1909, he hired her to create the tarot deck that he was working on. And so the Rider Waite Smith deck came out in December 1909. So one more time, just to repeat it one more time, it was published by Rider, it was envisaged by Waite, and the artwork was done by Smith. So Rider Waite Smith represents those three people: the publisher, the person that envisaged the deck, and the person who drew the cards. That's where that name comes from. So I want to talk about a little bit about symbolism, because symbolism in the tarot is really important. And if you start your tarot journey, I believe, and it's just my thoughts, if you start your tarot journey with a deck like the RWS deck, then you are going to be exposed to that symbolism because there's common themes, right? There's common themes with the symbolism. So basically, I'm just going to hit pause for a second because I just want to get some cards out. 2 secs, guys. Sorry about that. I did this video about half an hour ago and I wasn't happy with it, so I'm doing it again. I did it again. Anyway, so basically, I want to talk about symbolism. So in the Rider Waite Smith deck, there are common themes. And so I'm just going to give you one example. The example I'm going to give you is water. Okay, water or water, however you want to call it. Pardon my accent, but water. So basically, when you see water in tarot in the traditional Rider Waite Smith deck, uh, it's it's about emotions, it's about intuition, it's about power, it's about depth, and it also can be about the subconscious. Water likes to flow, it's fluid. You can also say with water that it relates to the water signs in astrology. So that's Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Yeah. So let's have a look at some cards in the Rider Waite Smith deck that have water. And I just want to just show you a few things. So straight away, when you see water, you know that there's something about emotion going on. There's something about power, depth, or emotions, so something about the subconscious. There's that watery energy happening in that card. So instantly, when you're learning tarot, when you see these, when you see water, you think, aha, I might not understand this card, but there's water there. There's something emotional going on some level. You can say, or something intuitive going on in some level. So let's look at the High Priestess. There's actually water behind the veil. Yeah. So that means that whatever's hidden in that behind the veil, you can often say that there might be intuition or there might be intuition or some depth of feeling, some depth of emotions in this card. And this is actually a very complex card. But what I'm trying to say is that there's water behind there, right? So you know on some level that there's water, there's some kind of emotional depth, but it's hidden behind the veil. That gives you a bit of a clue about what the card could be about. Okay. Ace of Cups is, as Lady G would say, um, the cup of the cup of abomination. But you can see here, it's just water overflowing with emotions. The water, like the cup is overflowing. It's an ace. It's the beginning of the suit of cups. So obviously cups is, well, not obviously, but to those of you that don't know, and that's fine if you don't. So cups is water. Yeah, is all about the water. So yeah. So Ace of Cups, it's all that emotion overflowing. The Emperor has water in the card. There's a little bit there, and there's a little bit there. So you know instantly, even though like with the Emperor, he's like the protector and he's like, he's above the king, right? And you might think, well, he's got all this fire energy here and he has his armor on. So he's ready to fight if he needs to protect his people. This is the good Emperor, right? He's ready to fight for his people and he's got wisdom. He's got that gray beard. He's got all that wisdom with the gray, right? All that wisdom and all that experience. But there's not much, but he has a bit of, there's emotion there for his people. He's quite fiery and everything else, but there's water there too. Yeah. So when you see this card in the midst of all the fire and everything else that's going on and how he wants to protect his people, you know that there's water there. I'm just going to sneeze. Give me 2 seconds, guys. All these interruptions. Okay. Second last card I want to talk about is the Two of Swords. So swords is about the mind, about, yeah, it's all kind of in the head, it's air. And this is about, coming to a decision or coming to a crossroads. It can also be about not wanting to make that decision because you've got the blindfold on, but there's water here too. So maybe this person in the card needs to face her emotions before she can make a decision. Who knows? There's so much in, and this is another thing with water. So even though this card is swords, it's about the mind and it's about communication. I can look at the card and we can look at the card and think, okay, there's emotion going on here, right? Because there's water. So there's emotion, there's intuition, there's water energy in this sword card. Yeah. And the last card I want to show, which is actually my favorite card in the tarot, this is the Six of Swords. Now, you can see here, so this card can mean many things, but I'll go into that in a second. But you see here, it can be about transitioning, and I'll talk about what Lena says about this card in a minute. There's water here, right? So there's swords, the swords energy, there's water. It's turbulent here, it's calm over there. Yeah. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to have a quick look at Lena's card for this. This is Lena's deck. So this is the one word tarot, right? And so when Lena is talking about this deck, she's talking about a transition. She's talking about moving on. She's talking about escape. She's talking about travel. You can see here that there's a man rowing the boat, and it's a knockabout boat. It's not a very comfortable boat. So this journey is not going to be the most pleasant, comfortable journey. But you can see here, once again, the water at the end that they're going, it's quite calm, where it's more turbulent down here. So you're transitioning or going from a place of like unsettled or bumpy ground to a place that's more tranquil, for example. And so you can just look at it in that way. You're heading off into smoother waters, and in a way, you're going into a new beginning. And then you've got that's just with the water, but then you've got the sword. So then you've got what do you do with this mental energy? What do you do with that, and how does that balance with the water? So lots of meanings in all these cards, but I just wanted to focus on the water. So what I'm trying to say is that when you see these cards, when you look at the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, or you look at, say, Lena's deck, which is the one-word tarot, right, that she did with Sienna. If you look at Lena's deck, you'll see that is pretty much based on the RWS. So once again, that's the RWS, and this is Lena's card, yeah. So you can see the similarities. So Lena's just made it a bit more modern, and and just but the essence is the same. The essence is the same of what's going on. And you can see that Lena has been really faithful to the traditional, Lena and Sienna have been faithful to the traditional way that this card has been represented, which was by Pamela Coleman Smith. Yep. So what I want to do as well is just talk a bit about Lena's book, because Lena's book, and I remember I got this when it first came out a couple of years ago, and I was so excited to get it. And for anybody that's learning tarot from the beginning, this is a great book. And I know that I'm probably speaking, preaching to the choir here, in that probably all of you, or a lot of you, or most of you have got Lena's deck and Lena's book. But the thing with Lena is, and I'm probably a bit biased because Lena's my friend and I really love her, as we all love her, but I know Lena and she's just lovely. So, but what I want to say is that Lena's a teacher, right? And she's a doctor of philosophy. She's a doctor. Sorry, Lena. She's a doctor of sociology. So she's a born teacher. And even when you watch her videos, she says, "Hey, if you're learning tarot," she says that all the time. And so that teaching is something that comes so natural to her. So I wasn't really surprised when she came out with this, because I thought it's just in her essence. But it's a really good book. And even though I've been reading cards now for a couple of years, I still refer to this, and it's really good. It's a great fresh perspective on the deck, on the tarot cards, and it's just a wonderful thing to have. So I would just want to just recommend Lena's book if you are interested in learning tarot from the beginning, or if you want to just get another perspective of it from a traditional book about the RWS deck. This is a great book. And the other thing which I do want to say, if you're learning tarot or you're getting a new tarot deck, one of the first things that I always do is I count my cards, right? Make sure you've got 78. Sometimes you might find that you won't get the full 78 cards. So that's happened to me a couple of times. So you just got to email and say, hey, I'm missing a card or two. It happens very rarely, but it does happen sometimes. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about Lena's book, if I can, just really briefly. So in a nutshell, it's really holistic. The symbolism is all there in the tarot cards, in which she talks about the symbolism, like the water and the numbers and blah, 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 all that stuff. It's all there. And it's really, really, really easy to digest. And she talks about the suits. She talks about tarot spreads. She has a section on frequently asked questions, and she's got sections called tarot tips. There's just oodles of stuff in this book. And like I said, it's a really holistic approach to tarot. And I think it's one of the best tarot books I've ever read. And I've read quite a few, but this one is right up there. It's a great book. It's a wonderful resource. And also, too, because we all love Lena, because she's just so amazing and fabulous. It's good to support her because she has poured a lot of her energy into this and her love into this. So, yeah, it's a great book. But also in Lena's book as well, with Sienna, I'm just going to refer back to my notes here. She's got like sections called tarot tips. So I'm just going to read you two. Like she's speaking about the high priestess, which we were talking about before. And she says basically some cards are more complex than others. And with the high priestess, take your time and allow your instincts to guide you when they appear. And that's such good advice, because when you are learning tarot, especially if you're starting, it's all going to be a bit mumble jumbled at first, right? And you're not going to remember all of it, and that's okay. It's a journey. Just pick one card a day and have a look at it, and how you can write a journal or whatever. But some cards are more complex than others. So if you're learning tarot and you're not getting it, like, go easy on yourself. Do you know what I mean? It's okay. You'll get there. You will get there. And like, we were all getting there. Um, the other tip that she speaks about, another tip, there's like oodles of tips in this book. tarot tips. They're like little boxes that she kind of throws in there. Um, she's talking about the major arcana, and she's talking about how the majors are about significant soul lessons. And it starts with the like the optimism and the naivety of the fool, and it ends up with it goes through this whole cycle of spiritual growth, and you end up with the world. So you just so the fool basically just meets all the people in the major arcana. So he meets the lovers, he meets the devil, he meets temperance, he just meets the whole shebang. So he goes through all these experiences and he ends up in the world, and then he goes back to the beginning. And that's often referred to as the fool's journey. So if you hear something talking about the fool's journey, which does come up in literature sometimes, it's about the fool going through the major arcanas and just meeting everybody, learning all these lessons on the way, having this huge spiritual transformation, and then back he goes to the beginning. And in a way, that's so typical of learning tarot because you find that you learn something and then, oh, I didn't know about that. And you go back to the beginning again. Like, I didn't really realize that the Emperor had water in the card a little bit down there until maybe about a year ago or something like that. I just didn't see it. So it's an ongoing journey, and we're all on that journey. So yeah. Another thing about Lena's book is there's sections called frequently asked questions. So, she might talk about how do you formulate a tarot question? When do you stop shuffling? What do you do when you get reversals? What do you do when you're shuffling and a couple of cards fall out? And basically, when do you stop shuffling as well? So there's just a lot in this book, and it's more than just kind of explaining the cards. You talk about how to prepare before you do readings, and there's just a whole gauntlet of information there. So I can't recommend this book high enough to anybody that hasn't got it, or if you want to expand your depth on tarot, or if you want to get deeper insights, or especially if you're just a new beginner, I really, really recommend this. So yeah. The last thing I wanted to say with regards to all of that is, if you don't want to support, if you decide that you want to buy Lena's and Sienna's deck, and I'm not saying that you have to, I'm just saying if you want to, you don't have to go through Amazon. There are other places that you can go to. So you can just find the deck is available. If you want to go to Amazon, that's fine. But if you decide that you don't want to go to Amazon, that's also fine. And the One World Tarot is available from lots of other decks, lots of other places. And once again, YouTube entertainment only. I'm just saying, if you decide to, you can purchase the One World Tarot from Amazon, but you can also purchase it from other sites besides Amazon if you choose to do that. I think that's about it. I think that's about it. So, guys, I'm just going to do a few more things. I might try and knock out some B videos soon. Thank you so much for watching. And I just wanted to mention that. So the essence, the takeaway message about that is, I think, and it's just my views, and once more, YouTube entertainment only. My honest feeling is, and it's just my opinion, if you are learning tarot from the beginning, start with a Rider-Waite-Smith deck or a RWS based deck, and then it's just going to be the flow is going to be a lot easier because there's going to be a lot of consistency when you see the numbers and you see the sign, the symbolism. It's just going to be much more consistent. And as much as the novelty decks are they're a lot of fun and I love using them. In my mind, if I'm using a novelty deck, in my brain, I'm going back to the original RWS deck. Like I'm thinking, if I pull out, say, the Six of Swords, I'm thinking, oh, that's the person going through the boat journey and everything else. Because you might see that card represented in lots of different ways, but in my head, I'm going back to the original thing. Oh, right. And so that way I know what the original card looks like, and I have an understanding of the symbolism, and then I can see how that symbolism is represented in a new way in a new deck. However, symbolism and there are some great decks out there, but my feeling is if you're learning tarot from the beginning, I think, and once again, YouTube entertainment only, I just feel that you're much better off learning from an RWS based deck. And once again, and this is and Lena and Sienna's book and her deck is just such a great resource. So that's all I'm saying. So, all right, folks, thank you very much for your time. And I just wanted to clarify all that stuff with you. And enjoy your day, and I'll be back soon. Okay, bye for now. Bye.